Beretta 686 Silver Pigeon 1 is very similar to all over and under shotguns. Release lever on the top, move it to the right, open the action, still nice and stiff, the gun's still brand new. You have two chambers. I'm going to use snap caps for demonstration purposes, perfectly safe, and they would be inserted as such. When you close the Silver Pigeon with an automatic safety, on closing, the safety automatically sets and you would have to push the lever forward in order to fire. On the mechanical safety, such as this one, it's a manual safety, you would have to manipulate it yourself, and to be ultimately safe, obviously just open the action. That is perfectly safe. On firing a shotgun like this, it has a single trigger, it has a selector. The selector moves from left to right, right to left. There's a single red dot over there, quite visible. There are two red dots here, quite visible, and they indicate which barrel will now fire. On pulling the trigger, the selected barrel will fire. There's the click, and you need recoil to reset the other trigger, and there you go. To extract the cartridges, that's done automatically with ejectors. If you are shooting, and let's say for example you're in a field, I'm going to use dummy rounds. No primers, dummy cartridges. If you're in the field and you're shooting pigeons and you're using number 7s or number 9s, and you see, for example, here comes a goose, which happened to me about 2 years ago, and you need a shot of more substance, because shooting a goose or an Egyptian goose, for example, wouldn't be ethical with number 7s or with number 8s or 9s, and you want to use something larger, you simply open up the action, manually extract the cartridge that you want, or both for that matter, and reinsert a more appropriate cartridge like a number 3 or a number 5, whatever you feel comfortable and more ethical using. Simply close, manipulate the safety if necessary, and then shoot your goose. Most people are familiar with over and under shotguns and understand how they operate. They know how to load them, they know how to unload them. They're pretty simple. The Beretta A400 Upland semi-automatic gas-operated shotgun, a little bit more complicated and complex. I'm going to show you quickly how to load and unload. I'm particularly using dummy rounds. There's no primer. These are made specifically for demonstration purposes. Beretta suggests the following method of loading a semi-automatic shotgun. Rack back the bolt carrier, drop your cartridge directly into the ejection port, release the bolt carrier using this button over here. This firearm is now loaded. The Berettas are fitted with a cross bolt safety. Red indicates ready to fire. You simply depress the cross bolt safety so that it's easy to deactivate simply using your trigger finger. This is now loaded. We take another dummy round and insert it into the magazine. The firearm is now ready to fire. To unload, pretty simple. Rack back the bolt carrier. That ejects that live cartridge. And we simply depress inside this magazine well the little button that holds, it's a retaining button that holds the cartridge, and there it comes out in my hand. Make sure that the magazine is empty. Make sure that the chamber is empty. Pull back the bolt carrier about 2 centimeters, pull the trigger, drop the bolt carrier, that will drop the hammer, and there your firearm is safe. When you're around certain people or in a range environment like this, I highly suggest the chamber flag so that everybody around you will have peace of mind that this firearm is in fact safe and unloaded. A few years ago I was sitting in a wheat field. Fortunately I had an over and under shotgun with me. I was well camouflaged and I was shooting Rockies left, right and center. And in the distance I saw what appeared to be a low-flying microlight. And as my eyes started to focus, I realized that that low-flying microlight wasn't making any sound. And it was in fact an Egyptian goose. I wasn't prepared for it because I was loaded with 7.5 .28s and I was shooting Rockies. But as is usually the norm with me, I had a couple of number 3s in my pocket just in case. Now on an over and under, that's really simple. Simply break the action, take out the cartridges and replace them with a more suitable cartridge that's more ethical to use on a big game bird like a spurwing goose. How would you do that on a semi-automatic, you ask me? Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's load her up, dummy round, 1 in the chamber, and let's say hypothetically 1 in the tube. So I've got 1 in the chamber, 1 in the magazine tube. If I were to rack this slide back now, it would simply feed the round from the magazine and I'd have the same problem. The firearm is fitted with a cutoff switch, which is this button over here. I simply depress that button, pull the cocking lever back. That ejects my live round and holds the bolt carrier back. I then take the round of my choice, which in this case under this scenario would probably be something like a number 3, drop it into the ejection port, go back to that button and switch it off. You can't see it from this side, but I'm going to depress it. At the same time, it pushes this bolt carrier forward, loads that appropriate cartridge without pulling one from the magazine, and that is the cartridge I can now use.